We're here with Ran Cummings of Hamlet. Just checking in with you. How's opening weekend, and give us kind of the rundown.
Opening weekend was fantastic. We had really good crowds all 3 nights. We're doing a limited seating for each show. There's only about 50 seats for each show, and we're trying to keep it that way to give it a really intimate setting. And so far, yeah, things are off to a really good start. We're really happy.
Okay, sure. Well, talk a little bit about the play, known kind of as the most famous English play really ever. What's kind of the feeling, what kind of implications does that give you as an actor to get on stage and then perform that?
It's a lot of pressure. I mean, like, it is, as you said, considered by some to be the most famous, most well-written, most everything play in the English language. There's a lot of good theater out there, and I mean, it's sort of like, you know, that argument is sort of the same thing as saying Citizen Kane is the best movie ever, or, you know, Stairway to Heaven is the best song ever. It is, in one regard, a matter of opinion that was probably said by somebody, then was reiterated by somebody, and then eventually at some point everyone just agreed. They're like, oh yeah, no, that's it. That's totally what it is. But at the same time, there's a reason for all those things. All 3 of those are perfect examples of their form. Even in their flaws, they still manage to succeed, and in their high marks, their successes, they go over wildly. They show perfectly in every way, and the Hamlet shows perfectly in every way what a drama on stage should be, what a good story is, what good characters are, what good language is. It's awesome, and everyone should see it.
All right, well, you brought up the language. Speaking of the language, now you guys tried to make it a little more contemporary. How do you go about doing that and still keeping some of the poetry of Shakespeare felt?
Well, don't mistake. We haven't changed any of the language or anything like that. There are times where, you know, little bits of sort of modern expression come through, just in the way you might retwist a phrase or something like that. But it's still the text. Just like any production of Hamlet ever, we have carved things out. We've tried to take it down to there's not a production of Hamlet ever, with the exception possibly of Branagh's movie version, which I think was like 96, that has everything in it, because if you do everything like that movie version does, it's 4 hours. It's actually over 4 hours long. It's massive. And so, really, anytime you see Hamlet ever, there's something taken out of it. What we have done is, and what Jeff, really, the director, has done, is go through that script, take the core stuff out, the stuff that is most important, and bring that to the surface, and then just try, really, in a sense of contemporizing it, to just make it accessible. We haven't modernized it. We haven't updated the setting. We haven't put it in a Civil War or on a space station or anything like that. It's just, when you go in the room, there's chairs on each side of the stage. There's a few rugs out in the center that sort of denote the playing space. There's candles down the side. That's all the light you get the whole time. It's just candlelight. Guys are in suits. Girls are in dresses. And for the most part, that's all the costuming you see. Guns are used as props in the show, but really just to sort of convey the idea of you know, a weapon that is important, that carries gravity. There are also swords in the show, but it's never like at any time anything is tried to be explained off. It just is what it is, in a way that hopefully gives a little bit of the ability for the audience to engage it without having to consider too much what's going on. There's no excessive trappings or anything like that. It's just the text, actors, and people engaged in that world, you know, and hopefully, you know, for the 2.5 to 3 hours that we've got them there, just actually understanding and appreciating what they're seeing and hearing.
Sure. There's a pretty famous line in Hamlet, right?
There are actually
there are several, but the one that you hear in movies a lot, and to be or not to be, right? It's how do you go about personally, from bringing the emphasis of how important the line is without over cheesing it?
Well, actually, to be honest, that was the very first line of the show I worked on. Because you're absolutely right. I mean, Hamlet unto itself is awesome because I remember the first time I sat down with the script, I remarked that it was like, especially the to be or not to be speech, it was not like reading a speech, but reading a mashed together collection of 1,000 movie titles, song lyrics, and cliche phrases. I mean, you've heard almost every line in that speech used in some way, from, to be or not to be, to, there was a Star Trek movie called The Undiscovered Country. It's all... I'm really showing my nerd colors. But no, to be or not to be, it was the first line I worked on, and the thing I decided is just say it. Just say the line. We have emphases that we've heard on those words that like, to be or not to be, da-da-da. No, just say it, go out there. The whole speech, that speech unto itself, is a contemplation of not just death, but suicide. It is the character saying, do I move forward, or do I just kill myself and get it over with because it'd be so much easier? And I love that speech. It's a beautiful speech because Hamlet is, for most of the time he's on stage, kind of a jerk. He's kind of an almost unsympathetic, unaccessible jerk because he is actually trying to drive pretty much everyone around him away so he can get done the thing that he needs to get done that he's so conflicted about in the first place. And it's only in those monologues and soliloquies that we really get to know him. And that is one of his most crucial and desperate moments. He's reaching out to the people around him. He's working it out for himself, but at the same time, bearing himself, saying, listen, I'm really not sure. And I don't know. Should I be doing this? What do you think? And obviously the audience can't respond, but it is in a way his pleading question that he can never get a response to. It's the great questions in life. You have to figure them all out yourself, and that's why it sucks to be Hamlet.
So, well, when you're gearing up for the role before a performance, how? What's your mental preparation? What kind of gets you there?
I really just sort of getting into costume, leaving the day behind, trying to wipe everything out of your headspace, and coffee. Yeah, I mean, getting really wound up. I mean, this is a very excitable guy. I mean, when it comes down to it, you are going crazy for 3 hours a night. You are slowly going crazy for 3 hours a night, and so you can't get too ramped up too fast. You have to start and move forward, or it'll just be forced. It'll just be dishonest. You have to start at a place, move forward from that place, and hope that by the time everything ends 3 hours later, we all got there together. And that being said, you can't do that without all the people in the show, and not without trusting a single one of them. You can't do it without the director and the people behind the scenes who've helped you put it all together. I mean, it's this whole journey, and you need everyone, and most importantly, you need that audience. You hope and you pray that you do a good enough job, that all of you do a good enough job, that audience comes with you, and that at the end of that ride 3 hours later, that you've all come to that point together and gone, okay, that just happened.
Sure. So, famous role, famous play. Personally, for you, where does it rank as far as roles that you have played? What are some of your favorites?
I mean, there's a lot of roles I've done that have been personally favorite. I mean, everything from theater stuff I've done in recent years. I mean, like Evil Dead, the musical, was tons of fun, and that was ironically enough, I believe that's ironic, playing a character who didn't speak at all, who his entire character gag was that every time he tried to speak, he never spoke. To other Shakespeare roles, Benedict in Much Ado About Nothing, sort of the biggest pompous jerk of all time, and really tons of fun. To roles that I've done with band stuff, with various groups that I played with. Ziggy Stardust was one of the most fun of all time. But Hamlet, I mean, Hamlet's Hamlet. You can't get around it. There is no point where you get asked to do the role, where you're studying for the role, or you're actually doing the role that you go, oh no, it's just a thing. It's happening, and then I'm moving on. No, it's Hamlet. It doesn't matter the context. It doesn't matter the setting. It is the most important role in Western theater, and more importantly, I think you feel that way because you know that everyone else will be looking at it as such. They teach you in psychology that your own self-image is based on how you think other people perceive you, and that applies to that role absolutely. You know, you can treat Hamlet as just another role, but at the end of the day, you know in your brain that you're thinking that other people are thinking, man, that's really important. I hope he doesn't screw that up. You know, so.
All right, well, 2 weekends left to catch it. Give the people the details.
The long and short of it is we're at National Avenue Christian Church, which is actually not very far from where we're at right now. We're at the stage at Phelps Grove, and National Avenue Christian Church is right over there. You can't actually see it. There's trees and houses, but trust me, it's right there. It's in a gallery space on the south side of the building. Basically, you turn off National onto Portland. You go around behind. The parking lot's right there. The entrance is right there. You can't miss it. Doors open at 7. Show starts at 7:30. Tickets are $10. There are only 50 seats per night, and trust me when I say you could actually miss your opportunity. You have to plan this right. You have to get in because we're trying to keep it that way. We want to make it something that's, you know, people are like, oh, I saw it, and then other people are like, darn it. That's it. You come in, you have a good time, you enjoy the show, and then you go off and you think, wow, that was a thing. So 7:30, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, next 3 weekends, the gallery at National Avenue. Come see Hamlet. It's a good time. We promise you that you will not be bored and it will not suck.